morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I am here this beautiful Monday morning with Batya yet again. We were lucky enough to wrangle her into the studio for another episode. And we're talking this morning about blessings and curses, which are two words I think that mean something different to everyone. And we're going to unpack that this morning. Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual weather forecast where we aim to provide our listeners with the most powerful, practical, and poignant, let's add another P word there, poignant wisdom and tools to help our listeners navigate the upcoming 7 days. But inevitably, through those discussions, we provide our listeners with very powerful and practical life lessons as well. And this week, we're bringing up a concept that comes up in the wisdom of Kabbalah time and again, this idea of what it means to be blessed and what it means, what is a curse. And I think in spiritual circles in general, the word curse gets a bad rap. As it should, but it really does. I think it's important to point out that when we're talking about curses today, we're not talking about when you curse someone. We're talking about that feeling, and I think even Batya mentioned it last week, that sometimes we have these perspectives, or we look at our life circumstances and we say, well, I'm just screwed, or I don't know what I did to deserve this, or why does everybody else have this and I don't? We tend to look at life as some people say rat race, some people say we've become so consumerist that it's all about what I can get and what I can achieve and what I can accomplish, and we're not focused on being human beings, we're focused on being human doings. And today, and I think especially within this month, although of course it's connected more to the weekly energy than it is to the monthly energy, we have this really powerful opportunity to reframe how we look at our challenges and the areas of our life that are falling short of where we thought we might want to be or deserve to be, for that matter, and also how to draw the energy of and to live in that reality that we would call #blessed. So there's no better person to have this conversation with, in my opinion, than Batya. Batya is a trailblazer in the Kabbalah Center when it comes to helping people shift their mindset and their consciousness and their attitude and their approach. So it's not just internal shifts, it's also creating breakthroughs in our experience of this thing we call life. So that's why Batya's here today. Batya, I know I gave my little soliloquy on blessings and curses. You have anything you want to add or subtract before we dive in?
No. Let's dive in.
Okay. So
let's dive in.
We spoke last week and the weeks before. We're now in the month of Virgo. The Hebrew word is Elul. It's really a time where the universe is supporting us to take stock. Let's put that in a very one-sentence definition. The universe really wants us to take stock of our lives, where we're headed, where we have fallen short, where we can make extra effort. And a lot of that work, of course, is internal. Maybe our tendency is to say, I want to stop biting my nails, or I want to stop raiding the fridge at 3 a.m. But those external behaviors and habits are rooted in internal belief systems, thought processes, and mindsets that we want to uproot and remove from our reality. And that's a big part of this work of the month of Virgo and then going into the month of Libra. So when we I guess the first question I would pose to you, Batya, is how does our mindset, how does our consciousness determine whether we're blessed or cursed?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, if we go back to the Handbook of Humanity, Life's Instruction Manual, aka the Old Testament, the Bible, the Torah, there's a section there that says the Creator says to us, I give you this day blessings and curses. Choose blessings. Now, it's a funny thing, right? To think about
I'll have a serving of curses. Do you have any more curses over here?
I'll have some curses and put some fries on the side, will you? No one in their right mind, if you think about it, will consciously choose curses. But there's something to unpack here. First of all, notice the way it's framed, way it's phrased. It says, I have before you blessings and curses, right? Choose blessings. Now, when you think about it, usually we think about a blessing or curse is something we do after we do an action. We do the action in order to create a blessing, right? We do an action, and then as a result of that action, it may feel like a curse. Isn't that true?
Yeah. We think about it as like a state of existence rather than
or a result of an action.
Right.
Yeah, it's a result of an action. But here is a different concept altogether, which I ask you all to open your minds and think about this. Think of this as a dimension called blessings, an energy resonance, one of my favorite phrases because it's just so accurate on how the world works. So there's a resonance of energy called blessings, and there's a resonance of energy that already exists called curses. It's not that I did something and then caused a curse to occur. Where we're being told is that there are certain resonance or frequencies of energy that exist that if I consciously or inadvertently tap into that frequency, I can either feel blessed or feel cursed. It's a frequency of energy. It's not that something I did, I'm a bad person, and now God forbid, I'm going to get cursed. But we create circumstances through our, as we talked about last week, belief systems. And so we tap into or resonate at those frequencies, and then the world that we live in feels either blessed or cursed. So if that's the case, right, there's a frequency of energy that some people, by the way, just naturally live in the realm of blessings. You know, people like that. It's that no matter what they do, they always seem to land on their feet. Things seem to go their way. People seem to like them. They're just the lovable people. Money just chases after them. I know people like that. You know people like that? Because they're there. And then there's other people. It's funny. I was at an event recently, and I got into a conversation with someone who's really struggling financially. And next to him was a person who is doing really well financially, so well financially that really people with money like chase after this person and want to give him money to be part of whatever he's doing. And so it's interesting you should bring up the topic because, here's one guy that we're all the three of us, we're all sitting together. I'm being invited into a scenario. They are friends or acquaintances, I should say. They're acquaintances. They know each other. And they're sitting right next to each other, but they're both living in completely different realities. One man is struggling and suffering, and the other one next to him is living in a realm of blessings. He's got an amazing wife. He's got fantastic children. He's got a beautiful, like I say, he's financially doing really well. And especially in this day and age, in this economy, it's even more of a miracle, I'd say. I mean, just the nicest person the kind of person you just want to be friends with because he's just a good person and a wonderful person. And this other person who's seeking advice from me, ironically, is sitting right next to him. The other guy doesn't hear our conversation, but this man was figuratively, in his heart, was really living in a reality of curses. He couldn't seem to get anything right. He couldn't seem to make a living. He has to move now with his family, and then he's asking me questions about, I don't want to get too many into the details. He might be watching this podcast. So, but the point is that you don't have to go anywhere to step into a curse or a blessing. It's right there. You tap into it. You're either living in one or the other. Now, by the way, there's only three kinds of realities. There's the blessing, there's the curse, and there's the test. We're given a test. Which reality? Before we step into those realities, we're always given a test. And what's the test? The test is to test us of our certainty. Do we align ourselves with what I call, or in the Kabbalah we call it, creator consciousness, which is the consciousness of sharing and loving and trusting creation, trusting the system, and thereby acting on the system and not depending on other humans to be the source of our welfare, but actually only trusting that from the creator source and aligning our consciousness in that frame of sharing. And we'll always be tested, and that test is an entryway into one or the other realities. Do you want to jump in here anytime?
Well, my mind is churning. I'm thinking about what we're going to talk about next. Continue, unless you need me to.
I think I answered that question.
Okay, I'm not saying you didn't. I just never know if you're going to keep going.
I can go here without you. Actually, I just can keep talking. But
when you were talking, I was having a conversation with myself. Now I'm being honest. I was having a conversation with myself because I shouldn't say because you sparked so much thought with what you were saying. The thing that comes to my mind when you spoke about the two individuals who were sitting next to each other yet living in parallel universes is the difference between when you are in the midst of a struggle and you're suffering, and you use the word he was suffering, mm-hmm. But it's also possible to struggle and feel fortunate. And that feeling, that state of being that I would call fortunate, feeling when you feel.
One has nothing to do with the other. Why did you bring that into it? You could be suffering and not struggle. You could be happy and struggle. We all need to struggle. We all need a challenge. The way we get happy, by the way, is only through a challenge. We live in a world of duality. You can't know up without down. You can't know happy without unhappy. You can't know accomplishment without a challenge or a struggle. But what has that got to do with being blessed or cursed?
I wasn't going there.
Okay. Welcome to our world.
I think that one of the biggest choices we make when we are sitting in the middle of a challenge is how we feel about it, right? Our perspective.
Yes.
So my point was, you can take two individuals having a similar struggle and one feels cursed and one feels blessed. That's really, I think that one of the gifts of this period of time that we're all taking stock is that we can say, even though I have challenges here, there, and over there, the blessings far outweigh the challenges. The blessings may be some of my challenges. We talk about all the time on the weekly energy boost that, hindsight is 20/20. After you've gone through a great struggle or a great challenge and you're on the other side of it, you appreciate the value it had, the lessons it's brought, the people you met as a result, the growth that you experienced as a result. But many times during the struggle, it just feels like you're on a hamster wheel and you can't catch your breath and nobody's helping you. But on the other side, you can appreciate the value of it. I think the shift that we can achieve this week is to achieve that level of feeling fortunate while I'm still on the hamster wheel, mm-hmm. not waiting for the relief, and then I'm going to feel good, and then I'm going to be appreciative, and I'm going to be grateful for the opportunity, but being grateful for the opportunity in the midst of my challenge. And when you say, you were talking about those kind of people that everything just sort of falls into their lap, I think it's dangerous to it's dangerous to perceive people's stories that way, because it's easy to look at somebody using our eyes and ears and what we hear about them and think that they're better off than we are. I think.
Well, let me clarify. Can I jump in here for a minute? It's too late. I already jumped. Okay. So the person who's got everything, he works for everything. I gave you the impression that he just sits around and eats bonbons all day long, doesn't do anything. Then I apologize. This man works for everything. One of the reasons why he's so blessed is he doesn't try to take any shortcuts. This other guy always tries to take shortcuts. The other guy always wants something for nothing. But the one who's happy is the one who happily embraces his challenges. You know what suffering is? Suffering is the pain we experience when we don't want to change. Suffering is what happens when a person doesn't want to change, doesn't want, they'll get constant feedback from the universe, hey, this isn't working, but they just stubbornly won't change, and therefore they cause themselves the curse of suffering. Pain is not optional. It's part of the landscape of life. Suffering is optional. Suffering is when we don't embrace the challenge, when we resist the challenge. We want to run away from the challenge. We want looking for the easy way out. We want something for nothing. We want to be a taker. We just, no. And that is where the person ends up living in the land of curses. The other person who does have an amazing life works. I watch him. He works. He shares. He's spiritual. He's constantly a giver. He's constantly being the cause for others. He's not in it for himself alone. He is constantly sharing on all. This guy, if I could tell you a story about this particular person to understand what it does, how to shift from curses to blessings. True story, by the way. He and his wife couldn't have children for 12 years. I don't know if you know this about them. Oh, you don't know who I'm talking about yet? Okay, I'll tell you when we go off camera. So he and his wife couldn't have children for 12 years. They tried every medical procedure you can think of. He's in the Kabbalah Center, goes to his teacher, and his teacher says, look, if you want to change, he didn't use my words, he used his own version of, if you want to be in a shift into a different timeline, you need to do something against your nature. You need to give charity. And this is such an important time to give charity. And that's a whole different discussion, what charity actually is. But anyway, this guy is so special. And I'm not saying you should do this. I'm saying what he did. He actually went to the bank, took out a loan so he could give a tremendous donation to the center, to the Kabbalah Center, because he wanted children that badly. And he was struggling at the time. He had to go to the bank to take out a loan in order to give charity. Can you imagine what this guy's mindset is? He had such certainty that it would make a difference. And they were in the land of curses for 12 years because he was struggling financially. They couldn't have kids. Something had to change. So speaking of shifting into a time-space portal, one of the ways we do that is through the giving of true charity, which is not necessarily what you assume what that means. Anyway, he did that, and not long after that, I kid you not, the floodgates opened, and they ended up having 4 children, naturally, without any medical intervention. And he also became a millionaire. That's the kind of person he is, because he has 100% certainty in the system. And he lives that way every day. Such an incredible, good human being who has 100% total certainty in the system of life, in the spiritual law, and always lives in alignment with spiritual law. And so he's sitting next to this other guy, and they're not talking to each other, by the way. The guy who's living in the land of curses is talking to me, and the blessed guy is like, he's sitting there, but I think he was talking with someone else. And I keep pointing that out because the irony of him speaking to me when he's sitting next to someone who's living in a completely different reality. And this guy is someone who's always trying to get something for nothing. He's always looking at people and saying, oh, how can I make a deal with this guy? How can I earn a commission from that person? What can I do to look good in front of everybody? Completely externally focused and therefore empty inside, which is causing him to tap into that vibration of curses. So you see these two people who are just, because of the decisions they made, their mindset, one is totally in alignment with spiritual law, and and acting in being the cause of his life, in generosity and giving and sharing, and he got it back multiple times back to in his life, and the other one who's still trying to cheat the system. So if you want to talk about where are you in your realm of blessings and curses, I bring this to you now. Ask yourself, in what area of my own life am I a giver? Am I the cause? Am I not looking for payback? Am I really truly sharing when I want nothing in return for that? Because I know that it's my opportunity to climb my own spiritual ladder, and this cause is my opportunity to share. Or are you looking at people as a means to your end? Who's going to fill me with love, and who's going to pay my commission, and who's going to do this and that for me? Where are you in that? And how do you know where you are in that? Very simple. If you're triggered by other people, That means you want something from them. That means you're in the realm of curses. If you look at other people, oh, that's my opportunity to share. What can I do to add value to other people's lives? That puts you in the resonance, the frequency of blessings. I just wanted to clarify that.
So powerful what you were saying, because I'm thinking about individuals that I work with that are struggling.
Oh, by the way, I was actually at the birth of one of their children. That's, I can tell you, it's like from watching it firsthand, it was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
TMI? Watching it firsthand.
Actually, I was holding her leg. If you want to get TMI. That's a whole nother podcast.
We need to change the rating on the podcast right now. No, but it's interesting because the work that we do, our 9 to 5, quote unquote, we work with individuals for the most part. We do a lot of other things, but a big part of our time is spent working with individuals, guiding and inspiring them to make exactly the kind of shift that we're talking about on the podcast, and also using the tools. And I see a direct correlation between people who are focused on being in service, adding value, making a difference, and not the kind of difference that puts their name on the side of a building or gives them clout or status. Making the kind of difference, meaning we talk so many times about, each one of us has this unique soul, this unique light that only we can reveal in the reason we came to the world is to reveal that unique light, whether it's through our transformation or through the sharing of our gifts. And when we're focused on, and what I hear in the story about this person is in the question that he asked his teacher in that meeting was, how else can I reveal the light? What else can what light am I not revealing? And I think for a lot of us, when we see something in our reality, and this is going to circle back to the blessing and curse conundrum, when we see something in our reality that we don't like, we have a way of explaining that in classes. And what we talk about is that every thought, word, and action plants a seed.
Absolutely.
Every thought, word, and action plants a seed. And every seed that we plant sprouts a tree that eventually bears fruit. Now, when we look at our lives and we say, I don't like this. I don't like this about my reality. I don't like this about my relationship. I don't like this about my career or my job or my boss or my office. Whatever we look at that we don't like, we're basically saying, I do not like this fruit. I don't like the way it tastes. It's not the right color. It's not what I thought I planted. What can I do to change the fruit? Kabbalah then comes and says, or by the way, it's not only Kabbalah. Earth science says the same thing. Biology says the same thing. If you plant an orchard of peaches and one tree sprouts up in the orchard that's an orange tree, you cannot will that tree into a peach tree. It will forever be an orange tree, right? You can't trim the branches and hope that the next harvest, the next season will bring peaches. It is an orange tree. The way that you can change the orange into a peach is never by attacking the branches or the trunk or even the roots. It's in the seed.
Absolutely.
So this is the time of year, again, where the universe is asking you to look at your garden or your farm of the seeds that you've planted this year and to ask yourself, what seeds am I proud of? Or maybe proud is not the right word. What did I do? What seeds can I stand behind that I invested my energy in, that I contributed of myself, that I put effort and time and energy into, that I am willing, going back to the effort part, that I'm willing to harvest, I'm willing to work the land, I'm willing to water the soil and prune the branches and all those things. And what are the seeds that I do not want to see the fruits of?
Can I tell you something? In my private coaching practice, I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'm talking with people who they're crossing their T's, they're dotting their I's, they're following the.
Sorry about that. That's a record. It's usually David who lets his phone go off in the middle of a.
So as I was saying.
Sorry. Apologies.
So in my private coaching sessions, I deal with many entrepreneurs who, on paper, they're doing all the right things. They're following their protocols. They've got their marketing campaigns, etc. but they're still not making it. They're still in the realm of curses. Something is not moving. And so my specialty is with them is helping them to do exactly what you're talking about. That when you go back to the seed, which is the mindset, and you shift the mindset, the environment, the effect, the fruits take care of themselves. You can plant all 1 million peach seeds and still pray for an apple, and you're not going to get one.
I want to stop you just for 30 seconds.
Yes.
Better the peach and orange example. A lot of us, let's say, for example, you make an investment out of fear. You're afraid you're going to lose the money, so you throw it into something quickly. What kind of seed is that?
Exactly.
You were afraid you were going to lose the money, so you put it somewhere?
Or you're
right?
afraid you're going to be alone, and so you marry the wrong person?
I wanted to make sure that we give it a concrete understanding, because it's the theory of seed planting, it runs throughout the wisdom of Kabbalah, but on a very practical level, like Batya said, the mindset from which we operate is really what plants the seed.
Exactly.
If you do something out of fear, that's a very different reality you're sowing than if you do something out of love or out of appreciation or out of wanting to add value, even if you make a mistake. And that's one of the things.
What is
right? So I'm saying, let's put it in quotes, air quotes. If you make a mistake, if you do something that afterwards, looking back, you wish you hadn't done it, or you wish you had done it differently, if you did it with a mindset of gratitude, adding value, feeling fortunate, love, that fruit will still be fruitful.
Right.
Even if it appears to you to be a mistake right now.
Exactly. First of all, I want to just address the issue of mistakes, because what people don't realize, you have to stop and think about how does a person become successful? If you think of success as the top of the staircase, you should know that every step of that staircase is made from a mistake. The way you become successful is through mistakes. We have such a warped understanding of the blessing of mistakes. I just want to make sure, mistake, I can't make a mistake. If you don't make a mistake, you're not growing. You must make mistakes every day.
One of my favorite parenting books is called The Blessing of a Skinned Knee.
Oh, I've heard that book.
It's a great book.
Yes. Okay.
The point in question, that's one of the points she's making.
I stand supported here.
Well, that's one of the points that it's made in the book, is that's the mistake is actually where the learning is.
Exactly.
If everything falls into your lap, there's no learning and there's no growth.
So people might think, if I'm in the land of blessings, if I'm living a life of blessings, I make no mistakes, I have no challenges, life is comfortable. No,
I don't burn any toast.
I love burnt toast personally. Anyway, so mistake is a very misunderstood
It's
concept.
A curse word.
Mistake's a curse word.
Mistake is a curse word, because if you consider it a mistake, you are considering yourself cursed.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
That's how you live in the realm of curses, is you feel that you're making mistake after mistake and nothing is going your way and nothing is going right. You're subjugating yourself. You're relegating yourself to a cursed life.
Exactly. So the other option is to realize every mistake is a blessing. Do you know that the majority of inventions came about because of mistake?
Mold.
Mold
became penicillin.
Yes, so many inventions came about because of mistake. So many people have helped the world because of a quote-unquote tragedy that happened. I don't say quote-unquote. There was a tragedy that happened, but
what emerged from that?
What emerged from that? You think of all the people who've started organizations and they dedicated their lives to helping other people. Why? Because something happened to their child or a loved one, or to them
when they were young, and they took that from that pain.
Yes.
They built something to support others.
That could have been a curse if they stayed in a victim consciousness about it, but they chose to ask themselves these questions. And I offer you these questions. Write them down and really meditate on this. What is this situation, this challenge, this tragedy? What is it teaching me? How can I benefit from it? How can other people benefit from my experience? When you take the challenge and you shift it into, rather than feeling a victim of it, but you shift that energy, how can I turn this into a lesson to be learned, something to be shared? How can I add value to other people's lives because of my experience? a lot of my teaching comes from my mistakes. I often tell people, you think I'm so smart, you think I'm so this or that. Let me tell you, I'm coming from this wisdom because I made this mistake. Learn from my mistakes is a common something I commonly say. And so your mistakes really are your blessings in disguise. So please don't be ashamed. Don't beat yourself up when you make a mistake. And in fact, it's a tremendous learning opportunity. Oh, the story of the woman, I forgot her name, but she created Spanx. The women out there who are wearing Spanx, what Spanx are, right?
Lisa Blakely.
Lisa Blakely. She said when she grew up, her father would tell her, I want you to tell me every day what mistakes you made. If you're not making mistakes, you're not growing. Oh my God, I wish I had a parent like that. I had the opposite experience. I made a mistake. That was the end of the world, unfortunately. And so I had to retrain myself. And if I can do it, you can do it. All mistakes are fixable. All mistakes are lessons to be learned. All mistakes are opportunities. Fantastic opportunities. And you know what's wonderful about a mistake? It leads you into a realm you wouldn't have thought of going before, or you wouldn't have gone without the mistake.
Exactly.
So blessings and curses, choose blessings and curses. The realities already exist, like going into a multiplex theater. You're living your life and you're entering a multiplex theater, and how you choose to respond or choose to be the cause of whatever's going on in your life will determine which movie of your life that you choose. Whatever movie you choose, the ending is there already. So you have two people, and they're going through the same experience. I'm sure you've heard of people like this, right? They're going through the same experience. One becomes a total victim and ruins their life, and they blame their entire life on that experience. And someone else went through the same experience, but they use it as a stepping stone to elevate to like the highest realms of consciousness and be a tremendous contribution to the world. They both came from the same place, but it's how they chose to, what they chose to do with that experience made all the difference. And that is our opportunity, our free will, and we get so much support from the universe right now in this time before the new moon of Libra. So take advantage that we're being supported, and be proud all the mistakes you made and what you learned from them, as long as you and tragedies, by the way, and terrible circumstances that maybe you never even thought, like, oh my God, what is she saying? I went through this terrible thing. Yeah, you went through it. Yeah, now what? You went through it. Is that going to be the story that defines your life of why you never take another risk, or why you choose not to be happy, or why you just give up and check out? Or could that be the airport for you, where from that place you can go anywhere you want in your world, anywhere you want? That's up to you. I give you blessings and curses. Choose blessings.
What's so funny, we can end on this because I think that's the proverbial mic drop was just there.
That's true.
The mistakes are really, how we look at our mistakes is really what determines what reality we live in. It's funny because just as you were talking, I was thinking that this idea of blessings and curses, it doesn't only show up in this week's energy. There's a few times during the year where we could have chosen to have this as the topic. And I was thinking, this is a lesson that you cannot learn enough times.
That's so true.
The reason that it comes up, I would say probably about 4 times a year, is because you need a quarterly wake up to stop doing that to yourself.
Reminder.
Exactly. And how beautiful it is that the Creator in his infinite knowledge knew that we would need these sort of boosts.
Like the weekly energy boost,
Like the weekly energy boost. It's not a coincidence that's why we call it that, so that we will get back on track. Well, I may have slid back and I started to beat myself a bit up about the choices I've made and the missteps. And no, get back on the horse. You are doing great.
Exactly.
And that's really all that matters. So thank you.
Because you're a diamond and you're already okay.
Shine bright like a diamond,
exactly.
Everybody. Weekly Energy Boost is on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We have a website, weeklyenergyboost.com, where you can find out about what we think is exciting and important, especially what Batya was sharing about her private sessions that she does. We'd love to hear from you, so please continue to rate, review, like, and most importantly, share. Imagine what kind of huge shift we can achieve this week where the entire world stops beating themselves up over mistakes they've made and starts learning and growing from them. And Batya also has a series on Kabbalah.com called Prosperity Principles. It's a fabulous weekly class, which also has live Q&A afterwards. If you're interested in participating, somebody needs coffee. You can visit Kabbalah.com, search prosperity, and it will be the first thing that pops up. I have checked that.
Oh.
So there you go. Cool. Search prosperity. Batya is the first live class that pops up, so you cannot miss it. And we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.
Bye-bye.